And now the Pledge of Allegiance. Please be seated. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 4, recognitions. First being recognition of the Del Rio Middle School Orchestra, Del Rio High School Orchestra, and the Del Rio High School Band students that placed in the Texas Music Educators Association All-Region Orchestra and TMA EA District Band. Mr. Nunez presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Garabini, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Once again, we're here to inform you about the students that placed in the All-Region Orchestra and Band Competition. The Del Rio Middle School Orchestra placed one student in the TMEA String Orchestra, and also the Del Rio High School Orchestra also had one student also placed. It's Amar Rodriguez. She placed 13, and also Gabriel Vasquez. And I'd like to inform you that it's been quite a bit of years since we had a student in orchestra place in this kind of competition. So I'm extremely proud of the work that Mr. Cepeda has done with the students. He's not able to be here tonight, but once again, I'd like to congratulate the students. I asked them to say a few words about their experience, very brief. So, Isomar?
My experience in the orchestra was very exciting, and it was great because you played with people that were your level, and they were only a little bit higher or a little bit lower than what you can. And together it sounded amazing. It was the best experience that I've had.
Gabriel Vasquez.
With my experience, it was really good. I don't really get excited for many things, but I felt like a little kid filled excitement when they first go to Disney World when I was in the region orchestra, because it felt really good to perform with people that were actually wanted to play and would sound like have the feel of the music and play all the dynamics, and I don't really get that playing here in this orchestra, and I like the experience, and it's kind of sad feeling that it is my first and last time ever being able to make it, so I'm really glad I got that experience, and it was really cool being able to play not only with other string instruments, but as well as with bassoons and clarinets and oboes, and meeting my conductor, she was very inspiring, and she got us to play the music that was really difficult in a matter of a day, and it was just amazing. And I really would hope that I could do it again in college.
Awesome. Also placing in the. Excuse me, sorry.
Before we get too far along, if their parents are here, we'd like to recognize them as well. Do you know if they're here?
You're here, please stand. Like I said, the last time that I can recall, probably back in the late 80s, early 90s, when we had a student place in that kind of competition, so I'm real proud of them. Also, the Del Rio, they have a concert tonight at the Del Rio Middle School, so I think at this time we'll dismiss them, okay, because they got to get and tune up and get ready, and then, so once again, congratulations. Also, the Del Rio High School Band placed 14 students in the TMEA District Band, and they competed against schools in San Antonio and all the students also got to advance to the region competition. At this time, I'd like to ask the band director, Mr. Rios, to come forward and introduce the students as well.
Thank you, Mr. Nunez. I present to you Roxanne Casillas. Up here, why don't we come this way, I guess, so we can, and then we can file down. Okay, so it was Roxanne Casillas, Brielle de Anda, Karen Rios, Alan Mendoza, Mark Esquivel, Yulisa, oh no, she's sick. Yes, she was very sick today. We went playing at several elementary schools, and she sung and played trumpet at all those. And by the end of the tour, she was like really dying. So she said she wasn't going to make it. So Alexia Rodriguez, Jacob Martinez. Yes, hello. Sorry, Jacob. Michael Rodriguez, Daniel Esquivel, Brianna Woolridge. And these are the students that qualified for the all-district band in competition against the Northside schools in San Antonio. It also includes Eagle Pass as well. So I'm very proud of these students in having represented as well at a very tough competition. So recognize them. And from that competition, we have 4 students that will be advancing to the area competition. We have Brianna Woolridge going to Austin on January 11th. Michael Rodriguez on tuba. Alan Mendoza on trumpet. And Brielle de Anda on alto clarinet. And so these 4 students will be getting to go to University of Texas. Actually, is where the contest is going to be held at, and we wish them the best of performance for that. And that's an even tougher competition because that encompasses all the students from Austin, part of Houston, and all the way across to. Well, I guess to us, and but that's a big portion of the state. And also want to recognize some students that placed in the and we had a drumline competition in November, and we had this young man actually competed in. There was a category for solos and small ensembles, and we had this young man win the most outstanding percussionist there at the contest, and that's Braylon Blassingame. And you should have seen how our kids carried him up, and boy, it was like we had just won the World Cup or something. But it was very exciting. I'm sure it was very well. He's very quiet and calm the whole time. The whole time they were picking him up, he almost broke a smile. And also that same day, we also had another activity going on. So we're trying to be 3 places at the same time. But we had another student that also placed in the all-region jazz ensemble, and this young man is one of the best guitarists in our entire region, and we're hoping that next year he'll get to move on to the state level. He came really close, missed it by one person to move on to the state competition, but we're very proud of Andres de Leon. And so these are our talent makers for this year. And again, we've finished last week with all of our concerts, our Christmas concerts, and this week it's been going out to the elementary schools to play, and that's what we did today with our mariachi. And we have another 4 groups actually going out the rest of this week to take the spirit of Christmas through sharing our music with. We've been in hospital, nursing homes, and elementary schools as well. So it gets an opportunity for the kids to, well, get out of school, miss the cafeteria food. Uh, but going to the nursing homes and hospital and things like that to, again, take the a great gift of music. So I thank the students for that and for all their hard work and for all the upcoming competitions. We wish them the best of performance. Thank you.
Once again, congratulations, students, and we look forward to your future success. Thank you very much. I would also like to take the time to wish Dr. Rios, Mr. Garabedian, and all the school board members a happy holiday.
Also want to thank Mr. White because I like hug the mic and he's in charge of the jazz band working with Andres. And so, Mr. White, thank you for your work and for your help also.
Mr. White. After the kids move to the
Parents of these young men and women, we have some over there in the back, but you all
Well, that was impressive. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 5, public hearings, but there are no items for this meeting. Moving on to agenda item 6, board members' report. A, annual Board of Trustees Continuing Education Credit Compliance Report. It's that time of year, again. This is a legal requirement set out by the state. As you know, training is important for leadership positions and perspective. By law, at the last regular meeting of the year, the board president is expected to call out the different levels of training that each board member has received. And so I'm going to take a few minutes to do that. I have a couple items for each board member for their own edification when they have a chance. It's pretty simple the way this works. The overview is that there are 3 tiers of training. Tier 1 has to do with the Texas Education Code. And Tier 2 is team building, and Tier 3 is continuing education of other forms. And since everyone on this board this year is an experienced board member, then we all have the same requirements. In terms of Tier 1, that's an update to the Texas Education Code after the legislative session. And Tier 2, the team building, 3 hours, and then at least 5 hours of the Tier 3 continuing education. So, with that said, starting my far right with Dr. Keys. In Tier 1 requirements, Dr. Keys is compliant. In Tier 2 requirements, he is also compliant. And in Tier 3 requirements, he is compliant, actually exceeding the number required. If you pass that down to Dr. Keys. Now, Ms. Haynes, Tier 1 requirement, she is compliant. Tier 2, she's compliant. And Tier 3, also compliant, exceeding the requirements. Is that Ms. Haynes? For Mr. Overfelt, Tier 1, he is compliant. Tier 2, he is compliant. And Tier 3 is compliant, also exceeding requirements. You'll notice that the first page is the overview that explains those requirements. So that's for you, Dr. Rios, for your own knowledge. Yes, no, not your slides, but just so you can follow along. That brings me to myself, Charles A. Garabedian. Tier 1, I'm compliant. Tier 2, I am compliant. Tier 3, also compliant, exceeding requirements. On to Mrs. Martinez Lozano. Tier 1, she is compliant. Tier 2, she is compliant. And Tier 3, she's compliant, exceeds requirements. Mr. Mesa, Tier 1, compliant. Tier 2, compliant. Tier 3, also compliant, exceeding requirements. Mr. Mesa. And finally, Mr. Chavita, Tier 1 requirement, he is compliant. Tier 2, he's compliant. Tier 3, he's compliant, also exceeding requirements. For your own information, you can go to Board Policy BBD, which explains this a little bit better, also TASB. You can also go straight to the law and read it for yourself. I did print out the framework for school board development, the exhibit, which is kind of for your own information as well. Should be a copy here for everyone, so if you pass that way, and I need 3 this way as well. This, of course, goes in the minutes of the meeting, and it's reflected as such. So if there are no questions, I think everybody's in good standing for the year.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 7, reports. A being unlimited tax refunding bonds, Series 2013. Mr. Quiroga is here.
Honorable President, members of the board, Dr. Rios, thank you for having me here this evening. For the record, my name is Victor Quiroga with Southwest Securities, and we have the honor of representing the district as your financial advisors. As you recall, we were first here back in late August, where you authorized myself and staff to start moving on a refinancing opportunity of some of the district's outstanding bonds. Since that time, we went ahead and proceeded with all the documents that were required to enter the bond market and entered the bond market in late October. And so here, what we have for you tonight is a very brief summary of the refinancing results, and out of respect for your time, we're going to be very brief with this presentation. The first slide, and we handed out hard copies to you, but the first slide here, this is showing the 20-year bond buyer index. This is basically in the municipal bond industry, our index that we use to track interest rates and see what interest rates in general are doing for municipal bonds. This is for the year 2013. The star right there indicates when we actually entered the market. Like anything else, we can't time the market. We don't know what the next day is going to hold, but based off of the results and what interest rates have been doing this past year, it looks like we hit the market at a pretty good time, because soon after that, interest rates started going up again, and we anticipate that they're going to continue to go up here coming in the next calendar year. And so here, this is a summary of the refinancing results. As you know, we refinanced about $18.4 million from your Series 2005 bonds. When we were here in August 23rd, we were anticipating savings of approximately $1.4 million. And whenever we look at these refinancings, we look at a key ratio called the present value savings ratio, which is the bottom ratio there. At that time, it was a 6.84. The higher that figure, the better the refinancing. We target a minimum of 4%. When we actually entered the market on October 21st, we locked in an interest rate of 2.76, which reduced it from a 4.59, and we were able to generate an interest cost savings of $2.179 million for the district. On average, that's about $185,000 per year, and the present value savings ratio is 10.25. That's probably one of the highest that we've done in the past 12 years here working with the district. So we're very excited about that. The last page here, ladies and gentlemen, it's the annual savings report, and just broken out by year, the amount of savings the district is generating. As you can see there, had we done nothing, the interest rate would have been 4.59%, but we reduced it at 2.76. And so you can see on the far right column the annual savings that the district achieved for a total interest cost savings of $2.17 million. And congratulate you on hitting the market at a good time. This is obviously a beneficial refinancing for the district and its taxpayers. Wanted to thank Dr. Rios and Ms. Valdez for helping making our jobs easier. It's not just us going to the market. There's a lot of conversations that's held with the rating agencies and information that we need to obtain from the district. But again, thank you for the opportunity, and I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good job.
Mr. Garabedian and members of the board, we have the discipline report for item 7B as well as the attendance report. These were provided in the board update. Our administration is prepared to do the report again or answer questions, whatever the wishes of the board are, sir.
As it pleases the board, if you have specific questions, or you want the whole thing presented, or?
I don't have any questions.
Dr. Keyes, are you?
Mr. Garabedian, item 7D, however, has not been shared with the board, and we are prepared to make the presentation. If it's okay, I'll have Dr. Garza put it up there, and I'll go through it. At the beginning of my contract here, I shared with y'all that we would be putting district performance objectives and that we would be giving y'all updates as the students took the exams and continue to communicate progress. I believe that this makes our progress transparent and also makes those areas where we need to be more diligent also transparent. Since then, in the last legislative update that was shared with you, we can see that this is going to become a mandate. So we just happen to be thinking the same thing. However, when it does become a mandate, we will already be compliant. Please go to the next slide. We set our DPOs to match the state accountability standards, and I'll remind everyone that we set the blue bar to increase every year till we eventually got to 90%. So what I was sharing with the faculties that we were visiting with this last week was we should not expect for the red bar to be up to the blue bar right away, because it's a growth that we expect every 6 weeks. Now, at some point in time after the semester, we'd like to show you all a cumulative report, but it's not fair to compare the first 6 weeks growth with the second 6 weeks because there are different objectives that we're teaching. But by semester, particularly with reading, it becomes cyclical. It starts spiraling in, and then at that point, it is fair to make a comparison from 6 weeks to 6 weeks. But right now, we feel good about most of our red bars, as we are not too far from the blue bar. We'll also remind everyone that the exams were written at a much higher cognitive level this year. And as we move on to the last reports, I'll be able to show where we're at. But that's how we stand right now in making progress towards our district performance objectives. The next slide, Dr. Arza, is Index 3. Index 3 is a little more challenging because it talks about the students that achieve level 2, which in the old accountability system is what we would consider commended performance. Still, we think we're certain that we will achieve our objective or come very close to it, but that's where we stand right now. This is one of the areas where we have the most to grow in. Index 3 for math. Again, not as wide as the reading, but definitely we feel like we're moving in the right direction. Writing was probably one of the programs that we've had the most impact on. Feel really good about it, but definitely an uphill climb for all schools in the state. Science, coming very close to it. As a matter of fact, you can see on the far right, we're very close with some of our subpopulations. Hispanic is is also getting close in the level 3. So we feel good about this one. Social studies, I like to celebrate and tell you, look at that, we're there. However, in all honesty, I think that we're going to go back and just make sure that our assessments are up to par with the state, because I'd hate to say, I know we're doing things differently instructional-wise, and that can certainly be due to a lot of our success can be due to that, but we just want to be sure. Nonetheless, we want to applaud the social studies departments throughout our schools for what they're doing. And Index 4, remember that we set that at 35%, or to grow to 35%. That's why the bar is lower. That's our level 3. Definitely feel good about the progress we're making there because of the instructional initiatives. Now, and for math, same thing. You can see where we're getting close. In a lot of areas, we show that we've already exceeded it. Writing, very close. On writing, just walking through the high school the other day, had a student tell me that they do believe that the writing classes are helping them. If you remember, we had students take a writing class in addition to the English class. So we're really hoping to make significant gains there. Science, I know that center group looks to have exceeded it, but we know that is a very small percentage of students that are categorized in that subgroup. But everywhere else, we definitely feel good about the progress, concerned on our ELL population like always, but teachers are definitely working hard in that area. Next slide. Social studies. Social studies. That's what I was talking about earlier, about the progress that we've made seems pretty significant. We want to celebrate it, but we also want to make sure that the assessments are on target. Okay, now here's the real success story. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, but I want to show you that when we wrote the assessments, we asked for the assessments to be written just like the state assessments and be written with level 2 and level 3 questions, which would mean that they're more difficult than they were in the past. So what I keep telling the faculties as I visited with them over the last 2 weeks is that we would like to be, we'd like for that red bar to be right close to the blue bar, even with it, or maybe just a little bit ahead, because the test is harder. So as we compare the second 6 weeks in 2012 to the second 6 weeks in 13-14, which is the current year, we expect the data to be right about the same or just a little bit higher, and we can see that that's exactly where we're at. Given a harder assessment, the data is just as where it was last year or even higher in some areas, and we feel real good about this. That's kinder and first grade. Moving on. Second and third grade, in the areas from phonics, reading, writing, science, we can see that the data for the most part is up and to the right, and we feel extremely good about that. Fourth and fifth grade, same thing. You can see where the red bar is just as high or higher than the blue bar. Very pleased with the results. At the sixth grade, with the exception of math, we got to go back and both look at the assessment, look at the curriculum. We can see where everything is up and to the right. Seventh grade, everything is up and to the right. Same thing with eighth grade. A little concerned there with one of the assessments in algebra, but you can see where it was at 100% in that particular area. Right. Freshmen, up and to the right. And these are all second 6 weeks assessments that we're comparing. 10th grade, across the board, up and to the right. Now, of course, English writing, we didn't have that assessment last year. Same thing with the 11th grade, the last 4 assessments, we didn't offer them last year. This year, the data is about the same. A little bit concerned about the English 3 reading, but we feel good about it. So the idea is for a brown or red bar to be higher than our blue bar, because it is a difficult assessment, not much higher. But as we compare the data from this year to last year, we feel real good about the progress the students are making and feel very comfortable that we will show significant progress at the end of the year with our district performance objectives. If there's any questions that the staff is prepared to answer, if not, we'll research. If you stump us on a question.
What does DPO stand for?
District Performance Objectives.
Was there a particular reason for grouping them in first, second, third, fourth, or? I'm just curious.
What, the data we try to present it as concise as you can. You're talking about the bars together by grade level? So all the assessments that 11th grade takes, all the assessments that 10th grade takes?
No, like in the elementary, you had first, or kinder and first, and then second and third, fourth, fifth, together.
Oh,
Instead of, like the high school, you broke them all out.
no, I think it's just because there are more areas at the elementary level, but we can certainly provide a
No, I was just-
report. Yeah,
There was a
yeah,
report.
no.
Thank you.
So, just to close this issue, Mr. Garabedian and board members, we know that change is difficult. And we keep telling the faculties that it's not that we want to slow down, but their message isn't lost on us that this is a big reform, and we're prepared to not necessarily scale it down, but definitely go slower and hear everybody's input. So over the last 2 weeks, we've visited with the faculty at every elementary campus, and we've set out steps to continue communicating with them so this could be implemented as well as it can be. We feel good about it, but we do recognize that, we need to stop a little bit and listen to and tweak as we go along, so that's what we're prepared to do, and really enjoyed visiting with each faculty over the last 2 weeks. And today we visited with a high school. So I think we have a middle school and 6th grade left, and then that'll be everybody.
Freshman, middle school, and
Freshman, I'm sorry, freshman, yes. That's all I have for that.
Mr. Chavita?
Just want congratulations to all the teachers and the principals that stayed with it and been doing a fine job. And we congratulate you and hoping we continue to improve.
Other questions, comments on this item? Okay, that brings us to agenda item 7E.
Michelle?
Highly qualified teacher and paraprofessional public report. Michelle Smith presenting.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Garabedian, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Each year, NCLB requires districts to report the highly qualified status of teacher and paraprofessionals at the district and campus level. In your packet, you have a spreadsheet detailing the status of the district and each campus. I will present for you tonight the highlights of our highly qualified status, and Dr. McNamara will then present the plan. Right now, our highly qualified teachers are sitting at 95.81%. We have 8 campuses and 18 positions, 9 at the secondary and 9 at elementary that are not highly qualified at this time. We do have 100% of our paraprofessionals being highly qualified. With that in mind, Dr. McNamara, we do have a plan as far as how we're going to reach highly qualified by the end of the year.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. At this time, the district would like to share with you this evening the 4 top strategies that we have placed in our highly qualified improvement plan. The first one, as you can see on this slide, is partner with universities, whether it be their traditional or their post-bac program, and alternative certification programs. In particular, I'd like to detail what that actually means. It's basically a 3 or 4-pronged process. The first one is we've embarked on this partnership through making contacts with universities and alternative certification programs around our area. And we're doing several things with them. One being we're emailing to their students or their program participants our vacancy listing. And this would be for students, as an example, in the post-bac or alternative certification programs. They're going the non-traditional. They're going to be certifiable through coursework and preparation. We believe that direct contact with the student and letting them know where our vacancies are will encourage them to apply. We're also outlining the application process. Secondly, we are attending more job fairs. This fall we attended 4. I'm currently researching right now 8 to 9 that we'll be doing in the spring. And we hope to, again, partner. As I went out in the field in the fall, I made it a point to make sure that I found the key person that was putting on the job fair, to get that direct contact information, their email information, so forth, so that we could develop these partnerships, and that's been very, very productive. The second thing, or third thing that we're doing on that partnership with the universities and the post-bac is we're trying to encourage them to allow their students to come to our district and do their student teaching. Typically, we draw from Sul-Ross State University. This year, we have someone from Schreiner College this fall, and in the spring, we've already picked up 2 from Angelo State University. So we're going to continue that endeavor. I met with someone from UTSA as well as Texas State in the fall. They didn't have anybody interested in coming to Del Rio, but I'm certainly putting that word out to them and that invitation. So we're hoping that through that constant communication with the universities and prep programs, they will partner with us and spread the word as well. So that's what we're doing for our top strategy number 1. Number 2, we're going to meet, counsel, and guide degreed substitutes that are already in our classrooms and instructional teacher aides that are already our current employees through the certification and process and programs. It is my belief that our long-term subs and instructional aides need a little bit more on the awareness of how to apply for post-bac or alternative certification programs. So I met with these 2 groups last week, and in those meetings, I spent about 2 hours working with those individuals that are expressing an interest in teaching to share with them the process. And from that, tonight in closed executive session, I will be sharing 2 recommendations, one from the teacher instructional aid grouping and one from the long-term substitute grouping that precipitated from those communications we had about a week and a half ago. So it is working, and I'd like to continue those meetings. Consequently, from those meetings, there's 2 additional individuals that have already started applying. They'll be taking their tests, and hopefully in January, February, I'll be able to bring those as recommendations as well. The third thing we'd like to do is to provide study guides and study materials for our applicants, and also reimbursement for testing certification fees. We've already started that in our math certification area where we're bringing in the trainer. We're paying for that in our bilingual program and also in the reimbursement for the testing and certification. And lastly, the 4th top strategy that we've selected to concentrate on to help us get 100% highly qualified would be to fund the TRS surcharge for the 2nd semester for current and new retiree hires. We have 10 current teachers that are in the retire rehire program. We had 3 that we had hired, and they have declined or left us, and so now that we believe that strategy will bring them back to us and maybe encourage others to come to us if we will take care of that TRS surcharge for them. It is costly for the employee, and we do believe that if we can assist them in that endeavor, they'll come to us and apply, and we can recommend them, and they'll stay with us. They bring a tremendous amount of experience back to our classrooms. And currently, like I said, we have 10, and I think last year we had 5, so we have increased that from last year to this year. So that's our plan, gleaning out the top 4 strategies to become 100% qualified.
Well, you come back to the dark side, right?
Yeah.
Any question? Mr. Mesa has a question.
Mrs. Smith and Dr. McNamara, that 95.81, that represents only the teachers that are on contract with us, correct?
That's correct, in the core areas.
Not the vacancies. We have vacancies that exist.
No, these are the vacancies, yes. That includes the vacancies.
That includes the vacancies.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Approximately, do you know the number of vacancies that exist right now to this date?
Yes, sir, we have 18.
There's 18 on this list. This was as of September 16th, I believe. We currently have, let me see, I think there's approximately 31, and we're bringing 3 tonight for your consideration, be down to 28.
28.
This report was as of September 16th. And in your packet, there's a listing of the teachers and the long-term subs that the principals all reported to be not highly qualified.
Right, okay.
And they're color-coded to show you which ones gained certification since September. There was one. One is a long-term sub that's highly qualified, was a different color, and then the ones that you approved in October and November.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You see in today's newspaper, Times newspaper, there's a trend that's happening they haven't seen in almost 2 decades. That is, for the first time in 18 years, there are more people, teachers leaving the profession than they are entering the profession. But I guess with the economy getting better now, people are going back to retirement on the regular schedule. So we have more people leaving through choice of their own retirement than are coming in. But see the vacuum pretty soon, so it'll be in high demand, so finding all the people for that special area especially.
Right, I attended a conference last week, and in which they highlighted the number of math teachers, as an example, teachers that are taking the math exam and the science. It's a little over 1,000 each one of those, and that's filling all statewide shortage areas. It's just 1,000. So,
And they said that's just the beginning, they're going to accelerate a lot more
yes, sir.
in the years to come.
Other questions? You have a question? Ms. Lozano has a question.
No, just to clarify, Dr. McNamara.
Mathematical error.
Well, it might be. Dr. McNamara, there were 18 positions on that second slide. But yet you're reporting there were 29?
That's current, this year, right, this report is as of September 16th. And as,
Since then, we've lost an additional 10
there have been teachers, yes, ma'am, from,
at the beginning of the school year?
yes, for retirements and seeking other employment, spousal transfers, yes.
Didn't realize it was that.
Some of them are due to promotions, as an example. You know, as an example, we hired a counselor and they're still in the classroom because we don't want to move them until we get a replacement. I don't have a replacement yet. That's an example. So, yes.
But if they're still in the classroom, then that's not really
Correct.
truly a vacancy,
Correct. Yes, it's not technically a vacancy, but in my mind, I'm still trying to fill that, so, yes. And that's included in that number as well. So,
Thank you.
we're not going to release anybody out of a classroom until we get that replacement. Thank you for the question.
Other questions? Comments? Okay, that brings us to agenda item 7F, report on status of ongoing emergency operations plan. Mr. Sheedy is presenting.
Mr. Garabedian, board members, Superintendent Rios. Superintendent Rios has asked me to come and make a brief presentation as far as the update of our ongoing campus emergency operations plans. As you'll know, last time we came before you, I think I was here in mid-October, and we had just completed one emergency operation plan for Lonnie Green Elementary. In the 2 months since then, we have actually been able to complete 7 more emergency operation plans. So we currently have working EOPs, campus EOPs, for all of our elementary campuses. Just briefly to talk about the emergency operations plan, I know we went over it before, but really all it is it's our comprehensive document where we're able to plan, and it's our blueprint for our responses and protocols, breakdown of roles and responsibilities for our district to manage an emergency or crisis situation on campus or district-wide. We have 13 campus EOPs, and we have 1 district EOP that's inclusive of all the campus EOPs. These are the 8 campuses that we've so far finished, the 8 elementary schools that we've discussed. I'm not going to go through them all, but you'll see the format is consistent. We're again working with the flip charts, the HTML flip charts. We've completed, for example, Buena Vista. You'll see since Lonnie Green, we've incorporated quite a bit more visual guides and aids to make them even more, to enhance the plans even further. So basically, each plan is different, but each plan is consistent. So there's campus data. Here we see data for district crisis team. Here's campus crisis team, a couple charts. Again, just campus maps, everything. For the campus, we look at Fermin Calderon. Very similar. You'll see all of our formatting is consistent. There's different incident commanders. District charts are the same. However, obviously our campus incident command charts have changed to reflect that campus. And again, a lot of the same information. They have information towards the end where we have campus calling trees and information on training, their specific training procedures that we're going to utilize on that campus. So they're all a little bit different. One more briefly. Look at Cardwell, Miss Guanawato's campus. Again, everything is the same, you'll see. And then we get into where the formats begin to get her incident command. Now, there are a lot, as I mentioned in the back, without going through the entire plan. There are approximately 90 to 95 pages, and a lot of the stuff in the middle is kind of across all the plans. But certain things like cutoff information, special aid students and locations, these are campus calling trees, all of that is different. So again, there's our eight current plans. And I just wanted to go briefly over a couple of things that we've included in these plans that I think will facilitate and that will serve to bring our plans ultimately one step above most of what's out there. A lot of templates and plans that are being utilized by districts, they're just taking a FEMA template and they're just plugging information in. And it's very difficult to kind of put that in context of obviously of principals and district personnel. It's written very much from an incident command structure. However, we still lack incident command training. We are moving on that. I've been meeting with Dr. Rios and showing him some progress there. But I attempted to get out here and to develop some pieces that I think really, this is one example of something that captures the roles and responsibilities that would be involved in an incident commander. The primary things that they would need to look at, to put it into a context where they could really kind of focus on that document, and it will give them just so much of what their responsibility is towards their staff, what they need to be looking at. Again, we just kind of break it into different the different contexts, the responses, the responsibilities, things for them to think about. So I think these will be ultimately very helpful. Here's another one we've developed. I'm extremely proud of this one. Everything that we worked on, the drills, all the different emergency responses that we take, whereas there's a lot of text and there's a lot of information on each of these plans in each of the campus EOPs, it's documents such as this that really will make it just so easy for them to utilize. And actually, I meant to bring one, but we've already printed out hard copies of each one of these plans, and this is included as an attachment in the plastic behind the folder, and that other document is included in the front. So again, a principal would be able to pull this document out, look at the back of that binder, and this will step you through each one of the response drills, whether it's shelter in place, lockdown, reverse evacuations. And we tried to capture all the pieces in here that, all the variables. In other words, we look at what are the causes, what specific incidents would be involved in those causes. We tried to look at, in the green down there is pre-event, So that's things that staff, principals should be thinking about before this action were to be required. And then that little bottom document down there just shows actually what's involved in a drill. We try and reconcile the real action versus, obviously in a drill, you're not taping and doing things like that. And then the last thing that we've tried to do is we've broken down, I've looked at probably since I've been with the district in the last few months, I've probably looked at 50 or 60 different components of different plans. I've yet to see any two that are the same. But I think what we've been able to develop here is going to work very well for our district. Ultimately, the two trickiest areas, which are obviously our violence, or lockdown, and our shelter in place. I know we had a minor incident and the superintendent had voiced some concerns, absolutely valid concerns. I immediately went back and made some adjustments to our lockdown. Did some research from some other districts on some problems that they were having. We had previously designated just one level of a lockdown. However, we had a perfect example of why two lockdowns are really important. We don't want, when you do research, you find out that there has been a failure rate from a lot of districts because they have been leery to go ahead and jump into that lockdown because it is severe. We have children that are in the corners, we have lights out, and so we obviously want that as a last resort. So typically, superintendent, staff, all of us administrators are leery of just jumping into that severe action. So therefore, we've developed this, what I'm terming as a lock-in. And the lock-in would be the first phase where there's a threat of violence in the area. We initiate a lock-in. The principals get all of their students inside. All doors are locked. The blinds are pulled. However, we're not huddled in rooms. We can still move around the building. We can't go in and out of the building. And then one of two things would happen. Either that lock-in that we're calling it would end, would cease, or if the threat became more severe, say someone was actually approaching the campus and we had information that now it looks like they're possibly heading to the campus, then that incident commander, that principal would state simply initiate lockdown procedures. And we're wanting our staff and students to focus on that down. Down means that you're down, you're under the tables, you're hidden. So I think that's going to ultimately serve us very well. And then the other one that we've worked on is the shelter in place. There's a lot of questions about when we shelter in place. When do we tape the windows? When do we seal off the vents? And so we've broken ours into, again, two phases. Shelter in place, everybody would get into their shelter in place room, and then they would wait for a second direction, which would be what we're calling seal. And so if they got the order to seal, then they would get their plastic and their tape, and they would take those actions. So I think these are the kind of things that are really going to go a long way towards helping us understand. I think this had been seen before. We've developed so many of these kind of things. This is a severe weather plan of action that I think will walk them through severe weather. Our incident command to help them understand at a glance a visual guideline for how our components work together. And another emergency communication diagram that we've put together for incident command. And this is just the way we will distribute these plans. We have to give these to our partners, the sheriff and some other agencies. Obviously, administrators would need a copy of each campus plan. So it'll be packaged in a format such as this, so you would be able to have that interface where you could just go to each plan through that interface, and they would all be very handy. So really, we're doing really well on the planning, on the EOP part. We've made some great progress. Unfortunately, we need to get through the planning, and then we need to move into training and exercising. I do know after meeting with the superintendent, he's very anxious for us to finish. We have 5 secondary schools that we need to get complete, and I believe that we wouldn't have any problem having those last 5 schools completed no later than mid-February. I believe we'll have all of those done mid-February. Then we can take all of our existing plans, begin a little bit of exercising on them, and just continue to enhance them based on what we find from our exercises. So other than that, again, I want to thank everybody, all the principals. They've been wonderful, you guys. Thank y'all very much. And all the staff for being so helpful. And we're having some good plans.
Well, it's vital after what happened in Colorado yesterday.
It's crazy. Friday afternoon, of course, we heard that there was another one, and you have that moment when you think, oh, God, how bad is it going to be? Fortunately, that one And they were very fortunate because they actually had a school officer, I believe it was a school officer, a deputy that responded within very quickly. And so it could have been much worse. But obviously we need to stay on our toes and keep planning.
Mr. Overfeld?
In your research with other school districts and what they're doing there, how many other are doing this lock-in / lock and then going to a lockdown?
Mr. Overfeld, they're using all kind of different terminology. I know a lot of them are using, I was given a couple days ago some information about a district that was using lockout. That seems to be a lot of districts will use lockout. In that particular information that I was giving, where they're starting with a lockout. However, if you read the next phase they go to, they're terming a lock-in. So see, they've completely lost lockdown. And so really they're all over the map. The reason that I like lock-in, sir, that I think works best for us is we're trying to do an action verb. What are we doing? What is our staff and students doing? We are locked in. And focusing on the lock-in, which means everybody's inside the building, and then versus the lockdown, which means obviously everybody's inside and everybody's down.
Dr. Rios?
Different districts have different progressions. The idea is, the example that we were talking about was at Lamar Elementary this school year, there was some crime that had happened in the area. Specifically, 2 males had broken into a home. And I got the call that the campus had gone to lockdown. And because the perpetrators were out in the community around the school, there's really no reason to put the kids under a desk and stop. But it is very important that we lock the school down so nobody can come in. But there's no reason for instruction not to continue. Had the perpetrator been running through the building, well then it becomes more dangerous. So therefore it's important to have 2 different phases of it. But every school district does exactly what I asked them to change to. They just call it different things. Level 1, level 2, etc.
I think that'll work better for us. Initially I had read some information that they thought it was good to go ahead and just have 1 level because that way it wouldn't be confusing. However, that day at Lamar when Dr. Rios called and I heard his question, it was like the light came on and it's like, oh my goodness, this is the perfect opportunity. This is a perfect reason why we definitely need 2 levels.
Mr. Chavita has a question.
Yes, sir.
You might have said it, but I didn't hear it. Did all the teachers get a copy of this?
Of this one, sir? No, sir, we've just kind of finished this. As a matter of fact, I actually have printed them all out. I had taken them over to Dr. Rios' office last week, but since then I had made a few changes. The teachers I'll be distributing these the rest of this week, and then we should have most of these distributed to all the elementary campuses this week, though, sir.
And my other question is there any way that maybe some of us can get a copy? I just would like to read on it. There's a lot of information, and I'd just like to be informed, and I'm sure it'll help us tremendously to know what's going on.
Certainly, I believe that we could certainly do that for you, sir. I can get you either the hard copy or the.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Or you can email it to us, whatever.
Okay.
I think Mr. Mesa has a question.
I had a question. And Mr. Sheedy, thank you again for doing all of this, but some questions arise and to stay ahead of the game, like how quick are we to access information, let's say that hazardous cargo, comes to mind, like the railroad goes across right in front of Calderon, schools that are closed, Garfield, Delaware Middle School. But how quick we'd be, and I know that they slow down because they're coming into town, but in the event of, let's say, 18-wheeler, hitting a train, derailing, how quick are we to access what kind of cargo these trains have? Do we have that available to us?
I can tell you, sir, as coming from the fire department, we have had situations, as a matter of fact, not very far from Calderon, right over there in that portion of the tracks where we've had cars venting. Typically, each railroad car is required by the Railroad Commission. They have to have placards that state what it is, what chemical, what hazardous material that they are transporting. And it's very fast, Mr. Mesa. I mean, typically the fire department or police units would be on scene first, and this is that situation where then they read that placard that has a number. They read that placard. Typically, the fire department has what we call hazmat guides, and they open those, and they will find that chemical in there, and they will find out what is the threat, what's the threat to life, what's the threat to, how do we control it? So typically, it'll happen very fast, sir. We have had cars venting over there, and fortunately, it's always been, it's been inert gases like argon or something like that, but it happens very fast. Mr. Mesa, we get that information as far as what the chemical is very, very quickly.
Okay, good. Now, I think, we've all read about this pipeline coming in, and is there anything for us to be concerned with, that construction going on? Is there any school in any area of, I guess, the digging and whatever chemicals might be used to break up rock or whatever?
To be perfectly honest with you, sir, I just kind of became aware of that myself. I will certainly look into that immediately in the next few days, and I will prepare some information on that for you. I was under the understanding that it was going to be mostly in the county,
Yeah, that's good.
but we'll certainly be diligent and
All right.
make sure that it wouldn't have any
Thank you.
impact.
Other questions or comments for Mr. Sheedy?
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 8, which is a consent agenda. It's about 7 o'clock, 7:05, and we're at consent. Does any board member wish to pull any item from the consent agenda for discussion? Is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda? Mr. Chavita has motioned. Mr. Overfelt is second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries. Since there are a large number of donations, as is custom, does a member of the Board of Trustees wish to recognize them?
Ms. Haynes? I'll do it, sir. Our donations for this month: Texas Athletic Productions in the amount of $1,000, the Del Rio High School Athletic Department; North Heights Elementary PTO in the amount of $469.66 to North Heights; Target Corporation in the amount of $133 to Dr. Lonnie Green; McDonald's in the amount of $700 to Garfield Elementary; North Heights PTO in the amount of $200 to North Heights Elementary; McDonald's in the amount of $750 to North Heights Elementary; the San Felipe X's in the amount of $100, the Del Rio High School Mariachi de Medianoche; Valverde County Library in the amount of $300 to the Del Rio High School Media Tech; Ramiro A. Guzman in the amount of $100 to Del Rio High School Media Tech; Wilbur Rivas in the amount of $50 to the Del Rio High School Metal Trades; Dennis and Peggy Miles in the amount of $100 to Del Rio High School Robotics; and then some non-monetary donations: Three Rivers Bass Club, 2 bicycles valued at $200 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary Honor Roll students; Ken Weiss, 2 microwaves valued at $98 to San Felipe Memorial Middle School; Frio Distributors, a forklift valued at $6,000 to the Del Rio High School welding program; and McDonald's in the amount of 60 ice cream passes valued at $120 to San Felipe Memorial Middle School.
Wow.
Yes, sir. It's very impressive. I've seen it already.
Thank you. And thank you to all those individuals and groups that donated to the students of the district. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 9, citizens to be heard. Ms. Falcone, anyone? No one to be heard at this time. On agenda item 10, administration, there are no items for this meeting. 11, curriculum and instruction, no items for this meeting. That brings us to agenda item 12, facilities and operations. First being A, consideration to approve the first reading of policy update 98 affecting local policies SBE, DBA, DFFA, DFFB, DHEC, EIA, FEA, and FEC. Mr. Salinas?
That's only 9 out of 12, Mr. Garabedian.
That's right. The floor is yours.
We have 84 legal ones.
I noticed. I read them.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, Dr. Rios. Update 98 includes 84 legal policy additions, revisions, or deletions, and 12 local policy additions, revisions, or deletions, and 1 exhibit with additions, revisions, or deletions. Every cabinet member has been given an assignment to review the 84 legal policies that pertain to them. The 12 local policies, out of those 12, we're pulling 3 of them, CKE, DGBA, and DNA. We feel they need to go under further review. So the 9 local policies that you mentioned are BBE, that covers board members, DBA, employment requirements and restrictions, DFFA, reduction in force, DFFB, reduction in force, EH, employee standards of conduct, EC, school day, EIA, academic achievement, FEA, attendance, and FEC, attendance. The CKE that has been pulled covers safety programs and risk management. DGBA covers personnel, management relations, and DNA covers performance appraisal. In your packet, you've been given the whole Update 98 under separate cover that included the side-by-side local comparisons, along with the board member vantage points. In addition, I prepared for you under separate cover an administrative vantage board summary for all of the 12 local policies for your review. So at this time, are there any questions about the 9 local policies that we want to present as a first reading with Update 98?
Questions on this first reading?
I'll read the recommendation, Mr. Garabedian. It's the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees add, revise, or delete local policies BBE, DBA, DFFA, DFFB, DH, EC, EIA, FEA, and FEC as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 98 as presented.
Heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Mesa has motion. Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries. Brings us to agenda item 12B, consideration award RFP number 14-10, roof repairs for Calderon, Ruben Chavita, and Lonnie Green Elementary Schools.
RFP number 14-10 for the Calderon, Ruben Chavita, and Lonnie Green Elementary Campus roof repair projects was received on November the 19th, 2013 at 3 p.m. That's roof repairs to this roof at Calderon. Also the roof at Ruben Chavita and the roof at Lonnie Green. When the bids were open, we received 6 proposals. In your packet, you have the bid tabulation sheet, which shows the 6 respondents. The lowest one being AAA Roofing out of Bracketville for $187,327 with the time of completion of 90 days. So after careful consideration of all of the selection criteria, such as but not limited to monetary amount, time of completion, experience with similar type of work, financial resources, etc., it was determined by Graves and Associates and the administration that the best value to the district would be the selection of AAA Roofing Company out of Bracketville, Texas, for the Calderon, Ruben Chavita, and Lonnie Green Elementary Campus roof repair projects. Basically, those 3 roofs will receive a product where we're covering the seams that have over time deteriorated, along with the ridge lap panels and also the parapet walls and the gutters. And that's the main roof repair is using a coating product on all three roofs in those areas that I just mentioned. You can see there's a big spread in terms of the base bid of $187,327 all the way to a high of $424,750. They're all reputable companies that we've already reviewed their ability to perform the work, and we feel very comfortable with AAA Roofing's bid of $187,327. And at this time, Mr. Graves is here if you have any specific questions about this project.
What does up one mean in that column right there?
Mr. Graves, you want to tell them a little bit about that alternate?
The alternate on there is for the I think there was one item on there where we asked them to give us a price on installing a gutter in the rear of the building all the way across. And the alternate prices varied quite a bit on there. There was we have a gutter in the front on most all of it. This gutter in the rear was leaking some water, and we asked for a price to redo that gutter in the back on it. And I think that was just Shavira.
Mr. Mesa, do you have a question?
I have a question. I'm looking at the numbers there, and there's a variance like 3,000 all the way up to 126. So
it just depended on how each of the companies figured their price on it. There were some in there that were obviously they were busy at this time, and they did not spend a whole lot of time bidding it, not very competitive. And there were some that probably need the work right now. So I think that's probably a variation on a lot of it. The other thing is how they managed to do what we required to do on it. We spelled out how they were supposed to do the ends of the panels and so forth, and there are some areas where they can actually save money to make the job come out the same on it. That's probably part of it on there. Like there's one here, $3,000 versus $27,000. And I could see a difference there, how they actually decided to do that. The $126,000, I don't think they wanted to do that at all.
Other questions?
I just have a quick question, and maybe you mentioned this and I missed it. The AAA, have they done work for us before?
Yes, they have.
They have,
Yes, they actually did the roof for us at the new Garfield.
at New Garfield,
Yes, ma'am.
and we've not had any problems with that.
Nothing major. I mean, maybe something minor where a seam came undone, and we called them back and they fixed it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, the recommendation.
It's the recommendation of the administration at the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board of Trustees, authorize the administration to negotiate a contract with AAA Roofing of Brackettville, Texas for the Calderon, Ruben Chavita, and Lonnie Green Elementary Campus Roof Repairs Project in accordance with RFP number 14-10 base bid in the amount not to exceed $187,327, and authorize the superintendent of schools to sign the contract.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Chavita has motion, Mr. Mesa has second. All in favor by show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries. Brings us to the next item, 12C, consideration to award RFP number 14-11, re-roofing for San Felipe Memorial Middle School PE building.
RFP number 14-11 was received on December the 10th this year at 3 p.m. and we received 6 sealed proposals. That's for the re-roof of the 6th grade gym and dressing room roof. We had 6 respondents. We included the 6, but one of them, you'll note at the very bottom, did not provide an appropriate bid bond, so we did not consider them. Tri-Lamp Construction out of Everman, Texas, which is in Fort Worth, had the best price of $160,000 if we take the alternate bid item 1, and they even had the best price if we take the base bid item number 1 at $170,000. When you add the material cost for this project, since the district is purchasing the material cost, that's why you see it basically the same across all respondents. The best price for alternate bid item number 1 and the material cost is $279,000. And that's after careful consideration of all of the selection criteria, as I stated before with the previous RFP. Are there any questions about this RFP?
Questions?
And Tri-Lam, by the way, is the roofing company that just finished our freshman project.
Okay, if there are no questions, the recommendation.
Is the recommendation of the administration, the San Felipe S.F.D.R.C.I.S.D Board of Trustees, authorize the administration to negotiate a contract with Tri-Lam Construction Company of Everman, Texas, for the re-roofing of the San Felipe Memorial Middle School PE building project in accordance with RFP number 14-11, base bid with alternate number 1, in the amount not to exceed $279,000, and authorize the superintendent of schools to sign the contract.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Chavita has motioned, I second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries. Brings us to 12D, consideration to award RFP number 14-12, air conditioning renovations for San Felipe Memorial Middle School PE building.
RFP number 14-12 was also open on December the 10th, but at 3:30 instead of at 3. And we received 3 sealed proposals for the air conditioning of the gym and the dressing room. Currently, the dressing room does not have air conditioning. Only the coaches' offices have air conditioning. The gym does have air conditioning, but it hasn't been sufficient, and so we're adding 2 wall packs here at the front that haven't been there before. Right now, it has these 5 and 2 back here, so we're increasing the number of wall packs in the gym from 7 to 9, and we're actually adding 4 units here in the dressing room area that weren't there prior. Those would be brand new. The 3 respondents were J.P. Sanchez Construction, Frontera Construction, and AC Technical. They were very close as far as J.P. Sanchez Construction and AC Technical. The subcontractor for J.P. Sanchez is actually going to be Amistad Air Conditioning. They didn't bid it straight, and it could be for various reasons. One of the main ones, it could be bonding capacity. They're already performing work at other sites. The deduct, if I back up to here, is these units here, these 7 new units, the deduct is to go with a unit that has a SER, which is the energy rating, from a 13 to an 11. And $15,000 is a good deduct compared to the 3 that AC Technical was giving. We did the analysis and determined that it would take us over 11 years, if we didn't take the deduct, to get our return of our investment. So we feel that the deduct, based on the fact that it's $15,000, that it's worth taking at this time. For a total value of $128,500 compared to the $131,987 for AC Technical. Are there any questions about this RFP?
Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Graves. The other thing the alternate one provides us is additional I believe it's up to R19 insulation in the roof that would not be there under the regular base bid. That's another advantage.
Say that again?
Alternate number one is actually where they're going to tear off the sheet metal. And while they're there, we've asked them to place more insulation to make it even more energy efficient.
That's in the roofing project that was just awarded, the alternate.
Which is going to make this even more energy efficient, the air conditioning portion of it.
And you referenced the R number, what was it?
At 13 compared to 11.
Okay.
That was the SEER rating. I thought 13 to 11 was the SEER rating.
Yes.
But they're gonna pull the metal down, put insulation.
That's
that has
on the
an R.
roofing part, which will make this building more energy efficient.
And what's the R rating on the insulation?
I believe they're adding R19, if I remember correctly. The SEER rating is on these wall packs right here. There's 7, 2 in the front and 5 on the side, that are 13 under the base bid. The alternate is based on an 11. And when we did the calculations, the cost savings per unit is right around $187 in energy savings per year.
Other questions? Mr. Chavita?
R19 on the roof, are we supposed to have R30s?
Thank you.
That's in addition to what's already there.
Oh, what is there?
So it's
Yes.
an upgrade. It's over and
Yes.
above.
Yes, sir.
All
So it's gonna be, okay.
And that was on the previous RFP, the roof. Okay.
Trying to figure out how wall size insulation is applicable to roofing. Thanks. Other questions? Okay. We ready for a recommendation then? Okay.
It's the recommendation of the administration at the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board of Trustees, authorize the administration to negotiate a contract with J.P. Sanchez Construction Company of Del Rio, Texas, for the air conditioning renovations of the San Felipe Memorial Middle School PE building project in accordance with RFP number 14-12 base bid and alternate number 1 in the amount not to exceed $128,500, and authorize the superintendent of schools to sign the contract.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Chavita has motioned. Is there a second? Mr. Overfelt is second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries. Brings us to
Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
you two.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Brings us to agenda item 13, business and finance. A, consideration to approve notice of election and order of election. Ms. Valdez.
Sorry. Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, board members, Dr. Rios. Included under separate package was the order and notice of election, establishing the procedures for filing and conducting the May 10th, 2014 election for four of the board positions, place 1, place 3, place 4, and place 5. The very first notice that will be posted, which this notice doesn't require board approval, but it's the very first notice that will be posted, will be on December 30th. It is the notice of deadline to file applications for a place on the ballot, and that will be posted on our front door again on December 30th. Following that, the first day to file for a position will be on Wednesday, January 29th. And the applications, the same process that we had at our previous election years, the applications will still be picked up at our offices, and it'll be at my office. Are there any questions?
Questions? Okay, the recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the order of election and notice of election as presented.
For the recommendation, I so move to accept. Is there a second? Dr. Keyes is second. All in favor by a show of hands? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Brings us to 13B, consideration to approve submission of 2014-16 Educator Excellence Innovation Program Grant.
TEA is requesting applications for a competitive grant funding opportunity through the 2014-2016 Educator Excellence Innovation Program. The purpose of this program is to improve educator effectiveness in Texas public schools by targeting the entire timeline of a teacher's career. The grants will be awarded the spring of 2014, and a grant can range from a minimum of $50,000 to a maximum of $1 million per year. The deadline to submit the application is Thursday, January 23rd at 5 p.m. Are there any questions?
Questions on this item, this application?
We included the announcement letter, the program guidelines, and the application assignments under separate cover.
If there's no questions or discussion, the recommendation.
Okay. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve for the superintendent to submit the notice of intent to apply and the application for the 2014-2016 Educator Excellence Innovation Program Grant.
Heard the recommendation, I so move to accept. Is there a second? Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor, by a show of hands? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Agenda item 14, Human Resources and Student Services. There are no items. 15, Technology Services. There are no items for this meeting. That brings us to agenda item 16, closed session. It's now 7:30 p.m., December 16, 2013. And the Board of Trustees will recess this open session, convening a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. We're allowed to do that under 551.071, 551.072, 551.073, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, 551.084. Specifically, tonight, we do that under A, pursuant to 551.082, School District Employees Disciplinary Matter or Complaint, 1, Level 3 Hearing, Student DAEP Placement, Del Rio High School. And B, pursuant to 551.071, pursuant to 551.074, discussion of personnel or to hear complaints against personnel. 1, discussion of personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. 2, discussion of salary adjustments to include the following justification: master's degree. 3, discussion of head football coach. And 4, formative evaluation of the superintendent. All final votes, actions, or decisions will be taken in open session. We're now in closed session. Okay, it's now 9:14 p.m., December 16th, 2013. And the Board of Trustees will now reconvene in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. No action was taken in closed session. Now that we're reconvened in open session, it brings us to agenda item 17A, A being level 3 hearing, student DAEP placement, Del Rio High School. Dr. Rios, would you take the lead on that?
Yes, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, we've been in communication with the attorney for the student, and at this time they've asked us to table the item. So the item is tabled until further notice, sir.
Okay, so we've heard a recommendation, obviously the table, so I so move that we table to the next available board meeting. Mr. Chavita, second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries. Brings us to 17B, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Dr. McNamara.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. At this time, the administration would like to recommend the following applicants for hire in our school district. Mr. Christopher Nuno, 5th grade teacher at North Heights Elementary. Ms. Selena Gonzalez, music teacher at Dr. Fedmin Calderon Elementary School. And Mr. Robert Brotherton, social studies teacher at San Felipe Memorial Middle.
We've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Mesa has motion, Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
It brings us to agenda item 17D, which is consideration to approve head football coach.
Did you skip C, sir?
Oh, did I skip one? I'm sorry. Okay, backing up, 17C, consideration to approve salary adjustments to include the following justification: master's degree.
Yes, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, and Dr. Rios, the administration at this time would like to recommend for your consideration honoring the accomplishments of Miss Brenda Mesa. She's our Spanish teacher at Del Rio Middle School. She obtained her master's degree, and we'd like permission to move forward with her stipend.
Heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. Haynes has motion, Mrs. Martinez Lozano has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries. Now that brings us to 17D, consideration to approve head football coach. Dr. Rios?
Dr. Rios.
Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, this is a recommendation of the administration that we name Coach Frenchie McCray as our permanent head football coach.
Heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt has motion, Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
That brings us to agenda item 17E, consideration of the formative evaluation of the superintendent. This is something that we've had a chance to discuss in closed session. There is no action on this item. Formative evaluation is just that. It's a discussion, examination of the progress of the district, specifically Dr. Rios at this point. I would point to the calendar that we adopted previously to remind the board where we are in this process. Coming up in about the next month or so, we'll need to arrange a board workshop for training specific to the instrument that we previously adopted, so that will be coming forth, and Dr. Rios will get with you on the details when we have an exact day and time. The other thing to point out is that the Commissioner of Education's latest worksheet that is a part of that process is out, so that will be up on the website momentarily or pretty soon. I don't need to go there. That requires no action on our part. That's the Commissioner's worksheet that goes with the process we've adopted in the instrument that we'll use in about 5 or 6 months' time. So with that said, any questions or comments?
Just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Okay.
Yes.
And to thank everybody who helped to make this such a beautiful desk. Dr. Garza, thank you for taking the lead on that.
You did a really good job.
Sure with Dr. Garza.
Okay. So in regard to agenda item 17E, we have concluded and conducted the superintendent's formative evaluation. Brings us to 18. There's nothing for the superintendent report, I assume? No? Okay. So now we're on agenda item 19, which is adjournment. It's been a good year, a lot of progress. Certainly thanks goes out to every member of this board for their hard work and their leadership, and to Dr. Rios and the cabinet, and especially to our teachers and staff. So with no further business before this board, is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Overfelt is motioned. Is there a second? Ms. Haynes is second.
Thank you.
All in favor by a show of hands? Unanimous, motion carries, meeting adjourned.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, y'all.